2019 has been a year of tremendous and positive transformation for me. At the beginning of the year, I decided to take serious action towards reducing my environmental footprint. As such, I became vegan, started eating organic food and as much as possible, buy local. I made lots of efforts to go zero waste, too, and took a hard long look at my consuming habits, reducing my urge and false needs to purchase new stuff commensurately. To say that I'm scared would be an understatement. This adventure is totally kicking me out of my comfort zone, in every possible way. Truth is, I don't even know if I'll be able to share anything on here until I get back. I'm hoping that somewhere along the way, I'll learn to cook the tastiest local Costa Rican dishes and that I will be able to share some of those recipes with you. At least, that's the plan, but I don't have the slightest idea whether I'll be able to carry it out. If not, I could always share a few pictures of the breathtakingly beautiful and diverse Costa Rican wildlife. We'll see. One thing I'm very sure of is that this trip will be an extremely life-changing experience, and that I will return a better human being, or at least, better at being. Before I go, though, I really want to take a few minutes to wish every single one of you a prosperous, inspiring and transformative 2020. May you be the change you want to see in the world. Never forget, you, as an individual, have the power to make a difference. Every little action really and truly counts. Change starts with me, and you. Free of gluten and added sugar, these vegan date squares are just as good, if not better, than the real thing. Super moist and deliciously tasty, they're the perfect replica of your typical soft, sweet and crunchy date square. Date squares are another holiday staple in this household. I think it's mainly due to the fact that they happen to be one of my son's favorite treats. He doesn't have much of a sweet tooth, but these, he has a very hard time resisting. And the mother in me likes to make sure that there will be at least one treat on the dessert on the table that will appeal to him. As such, I think that this would be the one recipe for which I have created the most versions throughout the years. Honestly, though, I think that this one is the healthiest I've ever come up with. These guys contain no animal products whatsoever, of course, no gluten and not a grain of added sugar. Still, they are deliciously sweet and will tantalize your taste buds with all kinds of not-so-subtle hints of orange and coconut, as well as a decadently rich and buttery flavor. Their texture is melt-in-your-mouth soft and creamy, yet they are pleasantly crunchy and slightly crumbly, just like any good date square should be. The dream. And one of the best things about date squares is that they are super quick and easy to make and won't have you dirtying up the entire kitchen, either. I get the feeling I'll be making those often, not just for the holidays. Combine all the ingredients for the date mixture in a medium saucepan and cook, stirring frequently over medium-low heat for about 5 minutes, smashing the dates with your spoon as you go, until the liquid has completely evaporated and you're left with a creamy, smooth and heavenly fragrant date mixture. I chose to use Deglet Noor dates, but any variety of dates will do, just be sure that your dates are pitted. Also, there is no need to chop the dates before adding them to the pan, but doing so would save you from having to smash them as they cook. So ultimately, the choice is yours, chop first, or smash during cooking. Once your date mixture has reached the desired consistency, set it aside to cool. Now would be a good time to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and grease a 9-square baking pan with coconut oil, then line it with parchment paper, leaving a bit of an overhang on 2 sides. The paper overhang will make it so much easier to lift the bars out of the pan when the time comes. In a large mixing bowl, combine the rolled oats, almond flour, sliced almonds, shredded coconut, tapioca flour, coconut flour, cinnamon, baking soda, salt and cream of tartar. Mix well with a large whisk until all the ingredients are super well combined. Add the coconut oil and mix well, either with a large spoon or with the tip of your fingers. Honestly, if you don't mind getting your hands a little dirty, your fingers will do a much better job. You'll need to work quickly, though, as to not melt that coconut oil. Break out your cast iron skillet and make these delicious pan-seared lamb loin chops with beautiful crusts and juicy centers. Deglaze the pan with dry red wine and whisk together a quick red wine pan sauce with aromatics like garlic and shallot and fragrant, piney rosemary and thyme. To finish, serve the dish with a handful of rich and fruity Kalamata olives. I have a dozen or so classic recipes I make for each season, year after year. But I try to balance those old favorites with new ones, because what's the fun in making the same things over and over? One way I do it is by swapping in new ingredients. This season, instead of making beef for all of our big winter dinners, I've begun to love cooking with lamb. I made Greek lamb meatballs last night. I love the cozy simplicity of these seared lamb loin chops with red wine and rosemary. They're quick enough for a weeknight and yet special enough to serve friends. If you aren't used to cooking lamb, I promise it isn't difficult at all. In fact, it's not much different than cooking beef, but the flavor is really something special. I particularly like lamb loin chops, which I used in this recipe, because they're easy to find in most grocery stores or butcher shops and easy to prepare, while still being tender and delicious. Plus, lamb is a delicious and nutritious alternative to chicken and beef. It's a lean, red meat with nearly 5 times the essential omega-3 fatty acids and alpha-linoleic acid of a serving of beef. For this recipe, I give the chops a simple seasoning of salt and pepper to add a bit of flavor without masking the taste of the lamb itself. Then, I sear them in a heavy cast iron pan for about 4 minutes per side, just enough time to create a beautiful crust while keeping the centers of our chops juicy. Because the cooking time is so short, it's important to get the cast iron screaming hot before adding the chops. And to complement the sweet and mild flavor of the lamb, a little red wine adds richness and depth. I deglaze the pan and whisk together a quick red wine pan sauce with aromatics like garlic and shallot and fragrant, piney rosemary and thyme. For sauces like this, I always use a dry red wine like Pinot Noir, Cabernet Sauvignon, or Merlot. A good rule of thumb when choosing a wine to cook with: if you wouldn't drink it, don't cook with it. Smiley face. To finish, I like to serve the dish with a handful of rich and fruity Kalamata olives. The lamb loin chops that I used here are produced by Superior Farms American Lamb, the leading purveyor of ranch-to-table American lamb. They partner with family farmers and ranchers across the US who raise their lamb naturally, kindly, and sustainably. I always respect and appreciate brands that dedicate themselves to the well-being and care of their animals, and Superior Farms believes good things come from putting the flock first. If you are looking for something new for your regular dinner rotation, or looking for the perfect recipe for guests this winter, give lamb a try. It's a delicious and versatile red meat that can be served on more than just special occasions.